Good morning, everybody. I'm Terry Boharsik. I'm the IT support specialist for Extension, and I have set up a webinar today of how to keep your computer running smoothly. Everything I'm going to cover is on PCs. At some point in time, I will do something for Macs. I don't have a particular time frame for that, but I will do something for Macs in the future. If you can hear me, if you could just give me a thumbs up, that would be great. Just want to make sure that everybody's hearing me. So I have an agenda that I'm going to go over with you, and what I'll do is I'll show you things as I go to give you a demo. I'm going to stop the video for me. If you want to be on video, that's fine, but I will be sharing my screen and showing you everything that I'm doing. So if you could also let me know if you can see my screen, that would be helpful as well. For starters, what I'm going to talk about is a lot of people have had their computers for a long time, and a lot of times they forget that they need to clean the computer from time to time. A lot of dust and dirt will get in the computer, and the best way to clean a computer is to use we call it compressed air. So it's a can basically that has air in it that you can use, and you can blow the dust out and whatnot. I'd highly suggest when you do that, just be careful because it's pretty bad usually. But you can buy those at the store. You can get them at like Best Buy or anywhere pretty much. And you're going to have to open the computer to do it. So you'll need to actually shut down the computer and make sure you unplug the power before you do that. And then once you've done that, you can go in and you can blow the dust out. You probably want to do it somewhere, like I said, where when you do blow the dust out, it doesn't get all over the place because it could be very messy. The next thing I want to talk about for keeping a computer running smoothly is backing up data. You can fill up your disk drives really quick with data, and we actually have a policy for USU that you save files onto Box or OneDrive. Those are the two programs that we typically use to be able to save data to. You can use an external hard drive as well, but it's a good practice to do backups from time to time and to save data in at least one other place, just in case you have some kind of catastrophic event happen with your computer. If you get a virus that needs to be cleaned and the computer needs to be re-imaged, that would be a reason why you'd want to do that. The next thing I was going to talk about is you can use a computer and you can, if it's going slow, you can add more RAM to the computer. The things that you do with that are, you could talk to me about what kind of computer you have, and I could help you figure out if you can add RAM to it, if there's enough space for it, and then what kind of RAM that you could use. And that would help your computer run smoothly as well, because you would be able to do more on the computer with stuff in memory and whatnot, and that would help a great deal for all the things that you're going to do on a daily basis. The next thing I want to talk about is there's a program that I use personally to check on programs to make sure they have the latest version. And then the other thing too is if you're running Windows 7 or below that, we're really going to want to have you upgrade to at least Windows 10. And the reason why is because Windows 10 is the latest operating system, and they fixed a lot of the problems that were with the previous versions of Windows. I can help you with that. If you're running an older version, I can show you how to upgrade, but I'd highly recommend you do that. So it's really important to keep current with your operating system. So the next thing, I'll show you this program. It's called Secunia PSI. Just so you know, I'm going to provide you with all the information that I'm talking about today. I'll send you a sheet that has everything on it. Secunia is a program that allows you to see what software you have on your computer and then how you can go about updating it. And I'm going to bring that up right now just to show you. It's a free program. The PSI stands for Personal Software Inspector. And once this comes up, I'll show you exactly what it does. It's a very good program to use because it goes out and it checks all the software that you have. And it'll show you if things need to be updated or not. So on this computer, I have all these programs under program name, and there are a ton of them, obviously, you can see here. And then it shows you how many of those are on the computer. So there's 8 different versions of, say, Microsoft Net Framework here. It tells you the installed version of the software.
Terry, I'm sorry, but I can't see you anywhere.
You can't see it? Okay, hold on one second. So when I share my screen, are you not seeing it?
No, and
Okay.
I'm getting other notes saying that they aren't seeing it either.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
so it's okay. So I forgot to hit that important button.
Oh.
All right. Can you guys see it now?
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so Secunia, basically what it does is, it, like I said, it goes through and it shows you all the software that you have installed. And it shows, if you have a lot of programs, you're going to see a lot of them showing up. The far right column tells you if you need to update your software. And so it'll say click to update. And then if you want to update that software, all you have to do is click to update, and it will go through and it'll update that program for you, or it'll send you to a site to download the program to install. This is a great tool. I really like it because it's important to keep everything up to date. There's a lot of programs nowadays, you may have read about it, where there's versions of the programs that have either some kind of bug in it, or they have a vulnerability, and you want to keep up to date on that because people can actually get into your computer and they can mess up your computer if they are in a position where they can get to your information. Okay, so this, like I said, I do have a link for this. If you want to download this, it's the link will be included in the information that I share with you later. The next thing I want to talk about is automating maintenance on your computer. So if you're running Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10, you can automate the maintenance. The first thing that you want to do when you do that is to go search for that program. And I'm going into hold on one second here. Okay, I'm going into the, sorry. I'm going into Control Panel. When I get into Control Panel, there's a search over on the upper right-hand side. I'll type in maintenance. And the first option that I see up here is security and maintenance, so I'll click on that. I'll get to this about Windows Defender later. So you can go in and you can look at your settings and you can see some things. You can get messages about security from these different options here.
Terry, are you trying to share your screen still?
Yeah, it keeps on, it stops sharing, sorry.
So yeah, we're not following you. So you might want
to. Okay, you should see it now. Is everybody seeing it?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, so the maintenance actually is also over here. There's a thing called automatic maintenance that we have, and right now mine runs on a daily basis. It ran this morning at 8:35. I click on change maintenance settings. You can run these at any time, and it says here this includes tasks such as software updates, security scanning, and system diagnostics. It'll run daily if you aren't using your computer all the time at the time you've chosen. And then this says, if your computer is in use at the scheduled time or maintenance is behind schedule, it'll run the next time the computer is not being used. So you're not going to want to run maintenance while the computer is actually being used because it'll slow things down. And this is a great way to keep things maintenance-wise, keep them working because it's an automated process. The next thing I'm going to want to talk about is defragging hard drives. Over time, your hard drive will use up a lot of space because of all the programs that you install on there. And when you delete things from the computer, there's a thing that happens where you have to defrag the computer. Defragging basically means that you take all the data that's on the disk and you run it so that you can actually make things more smooth on the disk itself. I'll show you an example of this. I use a program called Puriform Defragger. And can you guys see that okay?
It still says automatic maintenance
Okay.
screen, so it's not moving to your next.
Okay. All right. All right. Can you see that now? It should say Puriform. Okay.
Oh, shared screen.
Okay, you should see it now.
That's good. Yes.
Okay. All right. So this defragler program, it shows your disk and it shows how much used space you have and how much free space. If you click on Analyze, it'll go through and it'll analyze your disk for you, and it'll show you how much space is being taken by programs and how much of it would need to be defragged in order to make the disk itself run more smoothly for you. So right now I'm analyzing, it usually will go pretty quick unless you have a really large disk. This analysis, once it's done, I'll show you if you need to defrag or not. It's almost done right now. Okay. So the disk health shows good. That's what you want to see. If you ever see something different, that's definitely going to be a concern. And right now, it shows how many fragmented files they are. There's 2,421, and it's 26% fragmentation. You would actually, in this case, want to run that, and you would go down to defrag, and then it would go through and it would build a file list. And what it's going to do is take all these things that are in gray here, and it's going to make them contiguous. So it'll take everything and it'll basically fill up these ones that are down here into the space that's up near the top. And this is something that you'll want to do from time to time just to make sure your disk is running smoothly. And for now, I'm just going to close it out because I don't really want to do it. It's going to take time and it'll slow things down. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Microsoft Defender. Microsoft Defender it's a program that you use to basically keep your computer secure. What it does, as far as that goes, is it will help you to find any viruses or anything on the computer that you might accidentally get from going out to sites where you probably didn't want to be but accidentally got there. And I'll show you Microsoft Defender as well.
Click on your share screen again.
Yep, yeah, I will. I'm going to bring it up right now for you.
Great.
Okay, so this is what the Defender looks like. They call it the Defender Security Center. In Windows 7, they had a different option. It's called Microsoft Security Essentials. You can download Security Essentials if you don't have it installed already. And I have included a link for that so that you can find that. Essentially what they're doing here is they have the virus and threat protection, device performance and health, and then firewall and network protection. The virus and threat protection you'll have to update from time to time. I haven't updated mine yet, but I could update it. The device performance and health will check your devices on the computer. And if it says no action needed, that's what you want to see. And then the final one is firewall and network protection. And right now, this doesn't have any thing that it needs to do. This basically, the firewall and network protection keeps people from getting into your computer because there are a lot of people out there that try to break into people's computers. And it's very, very common that they try to do that. And this just gives you an added level of security and protects you from having more issues with your computer. Okay, and I just closed that window out, so I'll be sharing something again here in just a few moments. Okay, there's also something that is really important on the computer, and this is to help things run more efficiently. There's power options that you can set up on the computer. There's a term called sleeping the computer. Some people may shut down their computer. And then there's also an option called hibernating the computer. These options are all good as far as what they can do. You essentially can pick any one of these, and whatever works best for you, it would be helpful as far as keeping your system running properly. I'm going to show you a couple of options here in just a few moments. Okay, give me 1 second again. Okay, is everybody seeing my browser now or no?
I see it.
Okay, great.
It's actually showing your email.
Is it? Okay, let me quit out of my email. Okay. Okay, can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so basically what this does for as far as sleeping is it stops the disk from moving. So it essentially just shuts down the disk. If you were to get out of sleep mode, it would start right back up again, but it keeps all the components in the computer either stopped for a while, or the hibernate option actually saves everything that's in memory, and then it'll let the computer stay in like literally in a hibernate state for you. When you shut down the computer, you've essentially stopped the power from being able to keep everything running on the computer. And it's a good idea to shut down sometimes, but you probably want to use sleep or hibernate most of the other time. If you ever do remote desktop, you actually do not want to put the computer to sleep because it'll prevent you from being able to use the remote desktop. Okay, the next option I want to share with you is there's a program that's free called CCleaner. The C in CCleaner stands for CREP. And essentially what this program does is it helps you clean up the computer so that if there's any files that need to be deleted, or if there's anything that needs to help you run more efficiently, it'll actually be automated and help you go through that process as well. Okay, and you should be able to see this now. This is the CCleaner. It's free. It tells you a little bit about the computer and what operating system you're running. And then it shows you on this page about all your browsers. I have Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, Windows Explorer shows up here as well. And it essentially will show you all the browsers that can have stuff get deleted. There's cache, history, cookies, download history, last download location. And then these are all the files that you accumulate as you use the browser over time. This one has an analyze button. And it goes through and it looks for all these files. And I'm going to have to close Chrome because it's going to look at Chrome also. And when it completes the analysis, it shows you all the files that you can delete. You'll run the cleaner to get rid of those files. I can actually do that real quick right now. And it'll go through and it'll delete everything that you've requested it delete. And depending on how many files you have out there, it can take a bit of time. If you do this on a regular basis or you set it up to do it on an automatic basis, then it's kind of a set it and forget it type thing. The next thing I want to show you on this program is there's an option called registry. The registry is essentially, it's where all of your programs have the information that they need to run properly and to be able to show where the different files are on the computer. This is something, if you've downloaded a lot of programs and you've deleted a lot of programs, you're going to want to run because having stuff in the registry that's no longer valid can slow your computer down as well. For this particular option, I just click scan for issues. And as it goes through, I've deleted a bunch of these programs. So these are all the files that have been left over. And these kind of files, like I said, they don't need to be there anymore. So once I've scanned for issues and seen them, I would click Fix Selected Issues. It's going to say, do you want to back up changes to the registry? And you want to always say yes, because if for some reason there's a file that needed to be there, you'll have a backup file that you can go back to. You have an option of fixing one issue or all. I typically will pick all. And it goes through and it takes care of those. And then I close it. For some reason, this program needs to be run at least 3 times. I'm not 100% sure why. It could be because it selectively finds things and then needs to be repeated in order to get everything else. So I will run it again, and I'll back it up to the registry. If I were to click on these files right here, any one of them, it would actually bring back the files to the registry that I had gotten rid of, and that's a way to recover if there's ever a problem. And then again, I'll just say select all selected issues. And then one more time I'll scan. This one will probably be okay now. But like I said, sometimes you'll have to do it a few times. All right, and that just finished, so we're good to go on that. The next thing I want to talk about is recovery options on your computer. Sometimes you'll be running something and you'll have a problem, and the computer won't want to start back up because something changed that pretty much broke something on the computer, so it's just not going to cooperate with you. There's an option called Restore. It's already set up automatically for you. And what the Restore essentially does is it backs up your configuration automatically. You may have heard of a thing called a restore point. That's part of that feature that helps to keep that backup going for you, so you always have another throwback or another option to go back to. Okay, and I'll share that with you as well. Okay, in this program, so right now, I don't have protection settings running, but I do have a setting for the drive, and I actually need to turn this on. If there was a problem, you would click the System Restore button right here. It's grayed out at the moment. There's also an option that you can turn on system protection, and this will help you undo changes by reverting your computer to a previous point in time. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to go to System Restore, and I'll need to share out this option because I don't think it's showing up for you. Okay, so right now it says no restore points have been created. I actually haven't done it on mine, but I can go to this system protection. And I did stop sharing that, so I'll bring up something here in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to show the process to create a restore point. All right, I'm having a technical difficulty because it opens another page that I can't actually share. So I apologize for that. I do have a link that explains how that works and how to actually get things to work properly. So I will, after we're done with the webinar, I'll send that to you so you can take a look at that. And of course, always, if you have questions, just let me know. The next thing I want to talk about is a lot of times you go out to a website and it seems like it's a valid website. And unfortunately, there's a lot of suspect websites that are out there. I highly recommend that you don't go out to foreign websites, especially things that have it has a .ru at the end of the URL. Russian websites are known to have lots of junk, and you can download things that you didn't mean to download, and that definitely will affect your computer. If a link doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. So if you feel like, I'm not sure about this, you're probably right on the money. And if you have any questions of something, let me know. You want to try to prevent downloading things because you just never know what you're going to get. Okay, so the next thing I want to share with you, there's things called browser extensions. I know a lot of people are familiar with them and some people are not. Browser extension basically allows you to use certain types of programs within your browser to help alleviate some problems or to allow you to gain access to different types of software. And it's based in your browser so that it's easier than having an application on your desktop that you would need to use. I'm going to try to show you the stuff that I have here. Just bear with me here for a second. Okay, so right now I have several extensions that I'm running. And if you look over here on the right side of the browser, there's one that I'll address a little tiny bit later. This thing, it's called uBlock Origin. And what it does is it blocks things that will pop up on your screen. A lot of websites have stuff on it that it'll pop up a window. And a lot of times you'll click on it and then it'll download something for you that you don't want. For some sites, I actually know that the site is okay, so I will actually turn it off or on. If I click it off, it disables it. If I click it on, it'll activate that and allow you to block certain things. It'll actually show you some other additional information. This one is blocks all pop-ups on the site. I could click that, or I can unclick it, and it'll help you just keep stuff from popping up that you don't want to see. The next thing that I also have on here is I have like a thing for my email, and then I have there's a thing that a lot of people don't know about called password managers that are helpful to keep things also running well for you and to be able to allow you to save passwords, and so you don't have to remember a dozen passwords. It comes in very handy. Going back to the extension for just a second, as far as there's also a program called AdBlock Plus that you can utilize that will block ads that are popping up on your screen. I have those two options, uBlock Origin and AdBlock Plus, because those are things that have worked for me. And everything that I'm giving you as far as software, all of it is free. So you never have to worry about paying for any of this stuff. The next thing I want to share with you is there's another program that can help us software updates. It's called Bellark, and it's a great program to show you information if you don't have certain Windows updates that you need to have. It is another free program, and when you run it, essentially what it does is it'll show you a bunch of information. So I'm currently running it, and I'll share the screen so you can see how this actually looks. So what it's doing right now is it's downloading security definitions for your computer, and it's also at this point it's helping this program along to show you what you would need to see what the profile of your computer is going to be. And this usually takes a few moments to run. It's a pretty quick program, but it gives you a lot of information that can be really helpful. Okay, and then when it's finished, it will give you a summary of all the things that it's found, and it'll help you see what's going on. So right here, it's showing that the virus protection is up to date, and it's also showing that there's 4 security updates that need to be applied, and it gives you other details, the name of your computer, how you log into your computer, and just a whole bunch of different things that some of it's important, some of it you really don't need to worry about. But it can help me to see more information on your computer. And if you understand some of the things on here, it can help you to update the computer as needed. Sometimes we have to scan our hard drives. Over time, hard drives can have problems. The main problem that they have as far as usually the hard drive, it's a mechanical device unless you have a solid state hard drive, which doesn't have any moving parts because it's data on an electronic device that essentially it saves information. It's kind of like a thumb drive that you would use. And when you're using a solid state drive, you don't ever have to worry about it having a problem with one of the mechanical parts, which is really nice. But typically your hard drives do have mechanical parts, and over time those may fail. Or as far as scanning the hard drives, sometimes there's problems of files on the hard drives that sometimes they get corrupted and things like that will occur. I have a couple of tools to actually look for that. One is a memory diagnostic tool, and another is called a system file checker. And then there's finally a check disk option. I'll bring up a command prompt window just to give you an idea of these real quick. Okay, so this is a command prompt window. The way to get to it is to go to your search option and then type in CMD. When you run the command prompt, you want to run it as administrator. So if you right click on it, there'll be an option near the top that says run as administrator. So the program for looking at the memory diagnostic information is called msschedule. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. So it's msschedule.exe. When you hit enter, this time, actually, you know what? Give me 1 second. I need to run it from a different place. Okay, so this one actually needs to be run from a start option. Let me show you that. Okay, can you see that window or no? Okay, it looks like you would be able to see it. So when you run this memory diagnostic, you can either restart the computer right away. It's going to take it to a command prompt and then run it, or you can select check the next time you start your computer. And it just came up and disappeared really quick, but the next time you reboot your computer, it'll go through and it'll run. And then if there's any problems, it'll let you know what those problems are. And then we can address those if there are issues that need to be fixed. And the next thing I want to cover, I'll go back to the command prompt. There's a program that will scan the file system. It's really easy. Just type in SFC, and then you type a slash, and then the word scan now. And what this will do is it'll go through and it'll begin a system scan. This doesn't usually take too long, but it can take a bit of time. But when you're running this, you want to just do this independent of everything else. Just let it run and go through the process. And once it's finished, this is like the other program I was telling you about. It'll throw an error if it has a problem, or it'll just say this is completed and everything looks to be okay. And this kind of thing would need to happen if your system's running really weird and you suspect that something's just not right. And again, if you let me know, I can help you run through this process. Okay, the next thing I'm going to cover is there's a program that I use to check the computer from time to time, and this is to get more details. The program is called Speccy, S-P-E-C-C-Y. Essentially what the program does is when you run it, it'll give you details on your computer. It's something that's helpful for me to figure things out as I go. And it's something that if you understand some of the things on here, it'll make sense. Otherwise, it'll just look like Greek, and that's about it. But it helps me to see more information about your computer and help you to fix some of the problems that may be on your computer. And I'll share this one out for you too. And this one is also free. So this is the window for Speccy. This company, Piriform, makes a lot of good programs on a lot of different types of things that you can use to help with the computer. They have network options and all the things that are attached to your computer. It'll tell you about the operating system and a bunch of other details about information that's helpful to figure out, again, what you might need to do to make some changes. Going back to the power information, they talk about hibernation here. It's enabled on my computer, turning off the monitor, turn off the hard disk drive. And these are all adjustable parameters that you would have to do outside of this application. But we could make changes if we needed to. One thing that's really a good idea on at least a monthly basis is to go into your computer and go to the control panel. And then we want to go to a setting called Programs and Features. And when we get there, so this is Programs and Features, you want to check this list of programs that you have. You can go through and click at the top and you can alphabetize it or sort it by alphabet, or you could do it by publisher or installed on. And if you know that you installed something, then you'll see that information here. But if you ever see something, like especially with publisher, where it's a really weird name and you're not sure what it is, the best thing would be to uninstall the program. Sometimes you will inadvertently download programs and you'll sit there and go like, I have no idea where this came from, but it'd be good to just delete the program. If you need help identifying something that seems off, let me know. Sometimes it's really obvious. They'll have really strange names. And again, if you see the installed on date, it may be something that I wasn't even working that day. My computer was on, but and if you're aware of that, it's good to go through and get rid of those programs. The next thing I want to cover is programs that you would use to get rid of malware. Malware is usually downloaded, again, when you go to a website and you click on something and you don't know anything about it, but you've clicked on it. And then next thing you know, you have this stuff running your computer that's really strange. And you're like, well, where did this come from? Two of my favorite programs are a program called Spybot, and there's another one called Malwarebytes. Spybot is a very good program. So is Malwarebytes. There are a ton of programs out there that can provide this kind of help for you as far as running these malware scanners. The Spybot one is another free tool, as well as the Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes is a little bit annoying because it'll ask you if you want to buy their premium version. And you could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. It's something free works just fine. And I'll just quickly show you that information. So I just went to my browser and I typed in Spybot here for a search. And then you can get the Spybot free option here in the lower left-hand corner. And then Malwarebytes is here. And again, a free download. One of the things I run into, and I hope you don't have the same thing happen, for some reason Malwarebytes messes with email. I couldn't figure out why. If you ever have trouble with your email, like it just keeps crashing, you can check and see if you disable Malwarebytes, if that problem goes away. Okay, there's a couple more things I want to cover, and then I'll open it up for questions. I want to make sure that if you have questions, I can help you. Windows Update is something that happens automatically for your computer. And when you have that Windows Update turned on, as soon as Microsoft releases any software that needs to be updated, those updates will come on into your system. And then as far as updating goes, it is a manual process. You're going to want to, it usually happens automatically, but sometimes you could do it manually also. There's a window that pops up if you did a search from the search bar on the computer, just looked up updates or Windows updates, it would check and see where that program is and then what to do with it. It's pretty automated, and if you do it manually, it's very intuitive. There's nothing really complicated about it. I'll show you that screen real quick. So this is the Windows Update screen. There's policies. That's not something we really need to worry about, but IT basically has, it's mandatory that you get the updates. It says here the device is up to date, and it checked it this morning at 6:05. You can click the check for updates button also and have it check again if you wanted to. And then there's some other options of how you can get your updates if you want it at a certain time, and there's some other parameters there that you can check and modify if you need to. The last thing that I wanted to talk about today was just running a disk cleanup from time to time. There's a program called Disk Cleanup. It's a lot similar to the CCleaner that I told you about earlier. It's just the one that's based in Microsoft's system that you can use. The other thing too is a lot of times we delete stuff from our computers, and everybody who's running a computer should see a recycle bin in the upper left-hand side of their computer. It's good to periodically clear that out. If you've deleted tons of stuff, it actually doesn't disappear until you go in and empty the recycle bin. So if you ever have problems with a lot of files and things are slowing down and you're having, you're sitting there saying, well, I got rid of a bunch of files, but things just don't seem like they're really working that well. Go check the recycle bin and make sure that you get rid of the items there. It's also a protecting factor because if you accidentally delete something, you can go back in there and recover it if you need to. So keep that in mind as well. And that's all I have as far as my agenda today. If anybody has any questions, please let me know and I'd be happy to answer them.
Terry, are you seeing the chat?
Yes, I am.
Okay, because that's a question I have too. Does the recycle bin shred things essentially?
Yeah, so you might have to tell me a little bit more what shred means. I don't really know that context. Does that mean that, does it help so that you will never see the information again, like for confidentiality, or?
That's probably what she was talking about, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really shred things. Everything you delete on a Windows computer is actually, it's deleted, but there's still traces of that information. So what you'd want to do if you ever want to get rid of information is there's programs that you can use to actually go in and completely get rid of all the information there. When I have people get new computers, I usually wipe the computer and I use a program that gets rid of everything on there. And that stuff is gone forever. You can't recover it at all. So you really don't have to worry too much about it because it's a lot of work to put all those pieces together. Most people wouldn't even bother doing it because it's just a lot of work to try to get all that data. And there's pieces missing too. So once you get rid of a program, at some point in time, there's data that overwrites that information that used to be there. So they call it first in, first out. As you're deleting things, if you have a span of time pass, it'll actually just cover up that data with new data. I saw a question about recommending both SpyBot and Malwarebytes at the same time. You really don't need to run more than one. You could. There's nothing that's going to hurt doing that. It's just that you probably don't want to run them at the exact same time. You want to run them separately because they both impact the system as far as they look at every single file on your computer. And if you have a ton of files, it just takes quite some time for it to get through.
Okay, Terry, I recently, and it wasn't on this computer, but it was on my home computer, my laptop that I, transfer a lot of things. Yeah, I got an email saying that Office 365 University
Mm-hmm.
was no longer working.
Okay.
And I mean, I never got anything. And the fact that it said 365 Office University,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I mean, is there some program that we used to have that we're not having anymore? And is that going to impact what I've got?
Yeah, so a lot of times lately, and this happens a lot, we have people send out emails that look like university emails. They basically, it's called social engineering or phishing. They send out messages that look like they're authentic, but they're really not. We won't send links in emails at all. IT will never do that. If you hover over the links, they're typically going to be for a completely different site as far as it won't have anything IT related. As far as Office 365, we do use Office 365. That's kind of the software that's on the back end. Everybody knows about Office 2016, but we have Office 365 running in the background. That's what we've changed to over time because Microsoft has gone from just Office to the Office 365, and that's what majority of the stuff that we use at the university is now Office 365, even though it doesn't say it on the front end of things.
Okay, so should I just send you the email that I got?
Sure.
That's talking about Office 365 because I don't know what it's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody sees these things, the first thing you do is don't click on anything. If it seems too good to be true or you have a feeling of it being suspicious, don't click on anything. Just, you can send it to me. Typically, you want to send it as an attachment. So if you have the email that you've received, go ahead and create a new email and then just drag and drop that email over to the email that you're sending to me. You can also send it to fish@usu.edu, and we have people work with the security team that will check these emails, and they'll actually run the email on what's called a sandbox machine, and they'll click on something that we never want to click on a regular machine, but they're trying to see what happens when they do that. So what problems does it create? So it's best just to send it my way if you just don't know. Yeah, and just please don't click on links because it creates more problems than are worth it. And you know, we call it be suspicious of things. If it, a lot of times they look at things and it looks very real. So Roxy asked about phishing. Phishing is where people will send emails to other people that will look like they're legitimate emails. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to fool people into clicking on links. And the term that they use for that is phishing. So they're literally throwing things out there hoping that somebody clicks on a link. And then once they click on the link, that can open up a computer to be hacked and attacked. And if they get into one computer on campus or out at extension offices, they potentially could get into other computers as well. And that's why we are trying to keep the awareness of these types of things so that people know better to click on links and things like that. So the email again is fish, PHISH, @usu.edu. And that'll go to the person who, security admin who looks at these issues. You can always feel free to send them to me. Just make sure it's sent as an attachment.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. We have about 5 more minutes or so. If there's any other questions, don't be shy. No question's a dumb question or anything like that.
Okay, Terry, I do have some questions about Facebook and some social media stuff that I want to try and set up, but I don't think it has to be talked about now.
Sure, we can talk about it later.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I did cover a lot of stuff. I was trying to make sure that I covered everything as much as I could, but an hour is not always a lot of time. A lot of these things are pretty detailed. If you have any other questions after this webinar, I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. And like I said, everything has a link associated with it. So I will send that out to all the participants. And if you have anything, any questions or clarifications, or it doesn't make sense, or you need extra help, just let me know, because my goal is to help you be able to run your computer as efficiently as possible, to watch out for all the gotchas that can happen. And it is being recorded, so it will be available. So once the recording's finished, I believe that Casey will actually be helping get that posted up on the Extension YouTube site. And so it'll be available for future reference for you. And down the line, I will present some other things here for you to help you. And I did get a lot of feedback we had I put out a survey last year as far as things about the different things that you want to know more information about. And I'm going to be working on doing a bunch of stuff around that, probably sending out tech tips at least once a month, if not more. The subjects are really good and really helpful, and I am going to work on that and help you guys with that.
Okay, I do have one stupid question, and it really is. I have never compressed air anything. Mm-hmm. So are you saying that I'm actually supposed to take the casing off of the tower part of my computer?
Yep. So the way you'd want to do it is shut down the computer. Obviously, you have your compressed air. After you shut down the computer, actually, I don't know if I told you, just unplug the power from it too. And unplugging the power cord after you shut down is a good way to sometimes reset things, because there's a lot of electricity running through the computer, and sometimes that'll help make things better. And just open up the case, and then after you've opened up the case, just look around the computer. There's going to be a lot of components in there, and just start blowing that with the air. And one of the things that gets a lot of dust on it also is the power supply, because it's running and there's a fan. And a lot of times it'll suck up dust and just all sorts of stuff. The other thing too, just kind of in regard to that, is try not to block the back of that, because the computers get hotter when they're running because of all the dust and stuff. They'll heat up quite a bit, and heat's really bad for circuits and for the electronics that are inside the computer. And this will help you prevent problems as far as with the heat, especially because that dust can be there for years and years, and people never think about, oh, wait, I could probably get rid of this.
Thank you.
Sure. It looks like we have a couple more minutes. Are there any other questions or comments or anything? Well, everybody, thank you for joining today. I know I covered a lot of ground, and I wish I had a couple of hours, but that's just not possible. But if you have any other questions following this webinar, just feel free to send them my way. Again, there's no question that is stupid or anything like that. I just, I like to know what you guys are up against, what kind of things you're seeing, and anything that you need help with. I'm happy to give you a hand and try to make your job easier. I know technology can be a really big pain sometimes, and there's a lot of things that happen, but I want to help you be comfortable with technology and to be able to use it to your advantage. So again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. I really appreciate it.